What's up guys, in this video I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes of how 30 poker players have been able to see a 153% improvement in their performance by leveling up their skills. A very precise number, I know, but I've been tracking all their data over the last year and I'll show you how leveling up their skills has seen a significant improvement in their performance at the poker tables. Now, if you saw my previous videos, I talked about how important it is to approach poker like an athlete and to level up your skills. I identified 8 skills that poker players need to work on for elite poker performance. I then, in my previous video, talked about the poker athlete training system, and how basically you need to go through 3 distinct levels if you want to get better at your skills. The first one is to learn how that skill works. Level 1, how does the skill work? How does it apply to me? And how can I use it? The second level is to train that skill with specific programs in order to get better and level that skill up over time. And the third level is the elite level, and it's performing under using that skill in a wide range of contexts. As a poker player, that means using that skill to improve your poker performance. Now, all these things are great, awesome concepts, and we could talk about them all day, but what really matters is, do they work? If you follow this approach, if you actually took poker and you stripped it down to 8 skills, and you trained those skills in a specific way, so you learned about them, you trained them, and you performed using them, would it have a significant improvement in performance? Now, when I first came up with these ideas, I was very confident it would work, but in all honesty, I didn't know. So I had to put it through the test. So over the last year and a bit, probably 14 months, I think, since I took my first students on, I've been training poker players through these systems, all right? And I take on a group of 10 players, and I coach them through each of the skills. We work on 1 skill a week, and we train it over the course of that week. So it's an 8-week to 10-week program, because we have 2 weeks at the end where we go deep on some other concepts. But basically, I've had over 30 players go for this program, and today I'm going to share you behind the scenes of how they've been doing. Now, one of the missing links in terms of mindset performance coaching in poker is there's no real tracking and accountability. All right, so you can say you're working on a skill, but if I test you later down the line, have you improved that skill? First of all, you wouldn't know what your starting point was. And second of all, you wouldn't know how you're doing. You might give me some generic things like, yeah, I think my focus is getting better, roughly, maybe. All right, you don't really know, all right? So one of the ways to get past this or to create a system around this is to go, right, before we work on any skill, we need to take a pre-skill assessment, all right? So what I'm gonna show you now is the assessment results that my poker athletes got. And then after we've learned the skill, we've trained the skill and performed using the skill, we then need to reassess our skill level, all right? Reassess our self for our skill to see if we've improved. All right, so I've been doing this for over a year now with my poker athletes, and today I'm gonna show you their results, all right? So I've got the master view dashboard of how my clients are doing, and I can show you with quantitative numbers how much my poker athletes have improved their skills using this system. All right, I'll then also share some of their insights in terms of how that's impacted their performance. All right, so I'm going to put you behind the scenes of my dashboard now, and you guys will be able to see how poker players have been able to improve their skills. All right, so here we have the master view. So this is basically all my poker athletes who've gone through the program. I think there's 30 to 32 at the moment. All right, so the black kind of bar here, that is their pre-module result. All right, so that's before they've done any coaching, before they've worked with me. That was their level for this skill. All right, so we've got the black ones, the before, and then we've got the red ones as the after score. All right, so this is the improvement. So as you can see, there's 8 skills that the poker athletes work on, and each of them have improved. All right, the red one is higher than the black one. All right, so we're going to break it down skill by skill, talk about how players have worked on it, how it's improved, and also how it's been able to impact their performance. All right, so we start with self-awareness. So self-awareness is skill number 1. Their pre-module score was 30. All right, so this is right on the borderline of beginner to intermediate, and that was their 30 score here. Then they got 42 at the end out of 50. So after they've gone through it, they've seen a massive improvement. So we go to the table on the right, their self-awareness, their average score across 30 players is now 42, which is the elite level. 40 to 50 is what I class as elite, and they've seen a 38% improvement in their self-awareness. All right, by going through this training program, this is the average of 30 players. Some players have seen an 80% improvement, some have seen a bit less, but on average, 38% improvement in just this one skill. All right, so self-awareness works by, first of all, understanding what your beliefs are. What are the things that are holding you back? What are the stories that you're telling yourself? If you're looking to move up stakes, keep progressing in your poker career, very good chance you're telling yourself stories that are limiting you. So we need to unpack those and then create new belief systems that are in alignment with their goals. We then need to understand what character traits you need to develop in order to achieve your biggest goals. All right, so we spend some time understanding your values, understand the things that are meaningful to you, then building the character traits that will get you to your goals. And finally, the most powerful change that we do in self-awareness is creating a whole new identity. A whole new version of yourself who is capable of executing on a higher level. When you do that, the results are absolutely amazing. All right, so leveling up your belief systems, understanding your values and character traits, and then create an identity that is able to step into your goals. All right, so to show how that impacts performance, one of my poker athletes, August, I want to share some of what he said about this specific skill, because yes, we want to see the skill increase. We want to specifically see that number of how good we are at the skill increase, but also we want that skill to transition into performance. All right, I don't care about just improving skills just so you're a better human, although that is part of the game of life, but I want you to be able to have better results at the tables. All right, that's why players come to me. They're very specific. They, Adam, I want a bigger win rate. I want to increase my stakes I'm playing. I want results at the tables. All right, so this is what August had to say about working on the self-awareness skill. Before joining the program, I was always procrastinating and struggling to put in the volume I planned to do. This led me to feel anxious and fearful that I wasn't pursuing the right thing with poker. It made me feel less worthy and was lowering my self-confidence. All right, so he's having all these problems around not feeling good enough, not feeling like he's on the right path, procrastinating, and not getting in his volume. Basically, straight after the self-awareness module, I was able to crash past my old ceiling. Old ceiling is a belief construct, which I talk about, by taking shots at 500 and L Zoom on PokerStars, which have been going really well. But the most important thing is that I've grown a lot from it, and after reaching this milestone, I feel that I can go as far as I want in poker, and that it definitely is the right choice for me. All right, so by improving this skill, he's now playing higher stakes, or shot taking the higher stakes, and he's now feeling confident that he's on the right path. All right, so it's not just a conceptual skill is improved, it's literally leading to meaningful results at the tables. All right, so we've got 8 skills to go through. So we'll go back to the Master View dashboard and go to the next skill, which is emotional regulation. All right, so skill number 2, emotional regulation. The players coming in were averaging 32 out of 50. Again, this is very much on the cusp of what I call beginner to intermediate. At the moment, I have intermediate set at 30, but yeah, towards low 30s is just on the edge of that beginner level. And then now they're scoring 39, which is towards the high end of intermediate, all right, so towards the elite level. All right, so if we look on the right-hand side, we've got a 21% improvement in their emotional regulation. All right, so players able to regulate their emotions a lot better. So what am I talking about when I'm saying emotional regulation? When you play poker, first of all, there's a lot of stimulus going on, and a lot of things trigger emotional responses. I'm sure you guys have played poker enough to realize, it's not all the mind, it's not all logic, emotions are coming up. So the framework for building emotional regulation is first of all to build some emotional awareness, to understand what emotions you're experiencing on a regular basis. You then need to understand your triggers and responses. What events trigger you? Is it making mistakes? Is it opponents getting lucky? Is it being on downswings? What things trigger emotional responses? And then the final phase is, can we reprogram those responses? Can we change how we react to triggers and change the meaning that we're giving events? All right, so we need to unpack it all 3 phases, understand the emotions, understand the triggers and responses, and then we need to be able to reprogram those responses. So that goes through the 3 phases that I always talk about: learning the skill, that's the building awareness. Then we need to train the skill, which is your triggers and responses. And then you need to perform using that skill, which is reprogramming the mind for poker. So I'll now share with you how Paul, one of my poker athletes, was able to use emotional regulation to see a significant improvement in his performance and overall life. So Paul said, I knew the reward for mastering my anger and tilt issues would be massive, but I always fell short and felt somewhat hopeless at times. That I would always be the victim to my emotions when things inevitably would go the wrong way. All right, so he's feeling all these tilt and anger issues, and that he can't really do much about them. He's feeling very much like a victim. And then he says, no matter how good you are or think you are, poker will put you through the grinder. Now, if you're not the 1% that is born with the mental toughness and calmness that is required to be a professional, then you have to put some serious work into developing these traits. All right, so he realizes, wait a second, most players aren't fit for dealing with poker, and we need to do some work, right, which is the whole poker athlete philosophy. So the Poker Athlete program is the platform to do exactly that. The lessons and perspectives gained were invaluable, not just for my mental game, but for my life in general. As a 32-year-old, this is something I seriously wish I had done when I was 21. Alright, so he's now developing the skills that allow him to deal with his emotions, to play his best poker in the face of things not going his way. Before he went for the program, he was really feeling like he was going to be a victim to his emotions. But now we've done a lot of work on understanding his triggers, his responses, and how to change those responses relative to situations. Alright, and he's saying he wished he had done this when he was 21, 11 years ago, because he knows how valuable that would have been for his poker career. Alright, so building that emotional regulation, that ability to calibrate, I call it calibration, of your emotional responses to your environment. If you get a bad beat, it should hit a little bit, but not too much. You should be able to move on past anything that poker throws at you. Alright, the third skill we're going to look at is that of focus. Alright, so back to the master view. And focus, the poker athletes coming in, had an average score of 33. Again, low 30s is towards beginner / bottom end of intermediate. And after training that program, training that skill, they're now at 38. All right, so if we go to the right-hand side, we've went to 38, which is a 15% improvement in their ability to focus at the tables. All right, so what is focus all about? How do we get good at focus? Well, first of all, we need to learn how focus works, and we need to be able to direct and sustain our attention where we want it to. All right, we want to direct it and sustain it for long periods. Whether you're studying or grinding, it's the same skill. You need to be able to zone in where you want to be. However, when you learn to do that, you realize that you often get distracted. Your mind drifts, your mind wanders, you autopilot, you think of a thought that isn't related to what you're doing. So the next skill becomes spotting distractions and bringing your focus back. All right, so we need to direct and sustain, watch when it gets distracted and bring it back. And the final kind of skill or kind of objective is to have a peak level of focus every time you want it whilst grinding. All right, so if you direct and sustain your attention, it drifts, bring it back, and you hold it there over and over and over. So you get to the point where your focus barely drifts, or if it does drift, you bring it back quickly, and you're able to zone in and play high-level poker. Would that be a useful skill? Would it be good to train that skill from the level you're currently at? Would being better at focus get you better results? Almost inevitably, yes, it would, right? So I'm now going to share with you what one of my poker athletes, Barry, said after going through the focus skill. Before joining the program, I couldn't maintain high levels of focus throughout my grind, which was really frustrating me. Some of the biggest results I've had so far have been my integration of my daily habits, which I'd always found difficult in the past. I'm meditating now daily, which is one of the things to train your focus, taking cold showers, following a pre-session warm-up, and going through my mental checklist before I grind. These have all been huge performance enhancers for me, and I'm finally able to focus at a high level whilst grinding. Alright, so he's doing more habits that are allowing him to show up and focus at a high level. He's also, as going for this part of the program, learned how to, when he gets distracted, to redirect his focus. Alright, focus drifts, redirect. Meditation is a habit I teach, or a skill outside of game, but you also learn how to train your focus whilst in game. Alright, and now he's noticing that he's finally able to switch on that high level of focus. All right, next skill we're going to go into is resilience. All right, this is the ability to deal with adversity at the poker tables. So we have the average score here, 32, again towards the beginner / bottom end of intermediate, and we've got it now to 37 after going through the program. So average score on the right hand side, we have seen a 13% improvement in resilience from the average player. Now, resilience is all about going from fragile to anti-fragile. That's the way I like to explain it. You've got to be able to deal with adversity, deal with all the challenges that poker throws your way, and return back to your baseline state, which is calm, centered, relaxed, and ready to execute. You also need to train your ability to handle more and more adversity. All right, so I call this training your mental toughness and being able to handle more and more challenges. All right, rather than shying away from challenge, you step into challenge and you build a mentally tough version of yourself who can take on challenges. And then finally, you need to build a stoic mind that can handle anything that poker throws your way. All right, so I take poker players on this journey through understand how resilience works, why they're currently fragile, and I take them on a journey to become anti-fragile. Now, the way to think about this, fragile things, if I had a glass and I dropped it, it would smash because it's fragile, whereas anti-fragile things get stronger. Say a muscle of the body is anti-fragile. If I go to the gym, do bicep curls, I will break down that muscle in the short term, but if I recover well, it will grow back stronger. All right, so we can become anti-fragile by putting it through stress. All right, so let's have a look at what Jason has to say about his resilience after going through the program. One of my biggest challenges before joining the program was being overly critical of myself, which had been a problem for me my whole life. This would often lead me to make mistakes whilst playing, which would ruin my day. I lacked resilience. The Poker Athlete program allowed me to see all the different parts of my mental game, how they work, and provide a clear path to get them incrementally better at each one. I've now been able to change my perspective of stress, and I now understand my triggers and how to combat them. This has allowed me to handle mistakes and losing so much better, which has had a big impact on both my results and volume. Alright, so he's become a more resilient version of himself who's able to deal with adversity. He's linked a few of the skills together. He's got stress mastery, perspective, which we're going to go to soon, and also dealing with triggers and responses. All of these things help you to be more resilient. We're now going to have a look at skill number 5, which is perspective. So again, coming to the program, players had a 33 perspective skill score out of 50, bottom end of beginner, and now they're at 37. All right, so in terms of improvements, they've seen a 13.77% improvement in their ability to have a good perspective. Now, poker is going to challenge you, and very often the hard part is we get so short-sighted and all we see is results, winning or losing, and our perspective gets really clouded and really caught up in our short-term results. So the first thing we need to realize is that what clouds our ability to see things clearly. All right, so perspective is clear vision. All right, and one of the things that gets in the way is our faulty mental models. We see our biases, we see things differently, or we see things in a clouded way that stops us from seeing reality. All right, so the first thing we need to do is understand our faulty mental models and the biases that are holding us back, the things that are clouding our vision. We then need to learn to observe like a Stoic. All right, I use a lot of Stoic concepts because I'm a big believer that they're very practical in terms of allowing us to execute at a high level. So how do we observe our situation like a Stoic? How do we zoom out when we need to? And how do we put things into context so that downswings, bad results, making mistakes don't become this big deal? It becomes an event that happens and we move past it. And then finally, how do we widen our perspective? All right, how do we see a bigger perspective and zoom out and see a bigger lens so that we can put things into context? All right, so we're working on multiple skills like within a perspective skill, but the main thing is how can you deal with adversity, bad results, and see it in a way that's meaningful or helpful? All right, elite players or elite performers in general often see setbacks and challenges as opportunities to improve, opportunities to grow. Players who struggle a lot with their mindset and performance habits overall often see any adversity as a big bad thing. Why are things not working? Why are things going badly? Very often it's because there's too zoomed in on their results. So now I'll share with you how Martin, one of my poker athletes, was able to improve his perspective and how that's impacted his performance. He said, one of the biggest challenges I was having before the program was struggling with results-oriented thinking. What is results-oriented thinking? Too zoomed in, right? Bad sessions would weigh heavily on my mind and would have a negative impact on my performance at the tables. Since going through the program, I'm now able to look at things from a higher perspective. Zooming out. I feel more confident at the tables and I focus more on how I make decisions than my results. I've now learned how to play my A game for longer, which I had struggled with my whole poker career. All right, because he's not getting so wrapped into his results, because he's not obsessed on is he winning or losing, it's not a negative impact, he's now able to play his best poker. All right, he's now able to play his A game for longer because he's got a higher level of perspective. All right, so what I'm trying to show you with these skills is these aren't abstract concepts, these directly impact your performance at the tables. If you train them, you see an improvement. So like I said, the average here is 13% improvement in the skill, which is a significant amount. Martin most likely had an even bigger increase, probably a 30 to 40% increase in his perspective, and it's really helping him to play his A game for longer, which he's never been able to do. It's always been a problem for him. All right, so by going through a process, we can level up these skills and we can get the outcomes we want in terms of results at the poker tables. All right, the next skill I want to share with you guys is presence. So going into the program, players had a 31.6, very precise, score for their pre-match assessment for their presence. And at the end, they've now got a 39%, or 39 out of 50 score. All right, which is a 22% improvement in their presence. All right, 22% improvement, which is very, very, very significant. Now, presence is one of the concepts I love to teach, and it's one of the most powerful ones. And the first thing I teach my poker athletes is there's two mindsets you can be in. One is called a training mindset, very effortful, very calculating, very scientific and logical, also judges and critiques. And then we've got this performance mindset, which is very empty, it's clear, it's intuitive, it's creative. It's a complete different mindset shift, all right? And I get players to really explore when they're at the best, which of these mindsets are they in, all right? I get them on their own self-exploration to come to the conclusion that most often they want to be in the performance mindset. All right, you could argue that occasionally turning the trainer mindset on has its benefits to think and work through stuff, but most of the time, being in the performance mindset is going to be the key for you playing your best poker. I then teach players how to build confidence and overcome their fears that prevent them being in a performance mindset. All right, because when they're confident, feeling good, they're in the performance mindset. When they lack confidence or they have fear, they shift straight to the trainer mindset. They start judging, critiquing, overthinking. So I teach them how to remove those obstacles, gain confidence, and overcome fears so that the performance mindset becomes their more default state. And then I teach them how to prime their mind every time they play to switch on the performance mindset on demand. All right, so it's like trainer mindset off, performance mindset on. And most players, before they go through the program, have no clue that these two mindsets exist, and they've got no way of accessing the performance mindset. It's just like occasionally I just feel really empty and clear and creative and play awesome, but I don't know how to do that often. But after going through the program, they've got literally a roadmap on how to turn on the performance mindset every time they play. All right, so what Alan has to say, one of my poker athletes, about presence was a big insight I had in the program was that I have a training and performance mindset. I always criticize myself a lot in game, and understanding this on a deep level has improved my game so much. All right, so first of all, he didn't know that these two mindsets existed, and now he does. He's able to turn it on demand. And as he said, he was criticizing himself too much. How many of you guys would love to stop criticizing yourself and stop judging yourself in game? How many would think that if I could do that, if I could switch that function of the mind off and switch into a more empty, open, creative state of mind, I'd play better poker? How many would find that useful? Almost everyone, right? So Alan didn't understand how to do this, but now he does. And he said every area of his game has improved as a result. All right, now we're getting on to skill number 7, which is stress mastery. And this is understand how the body responds to the stress of being a poker player. So before the program, everyone was 31.9 was the average, we call it 32. And then now they're at 37. All right, so stress mastery has seen a 38, and on the far right, you can see it's 17% improvement in their stress mastery. Now, stress mastery is first of all understanding how your body responds to the stresses of being a poker player. And when to do this and to understand at a high level, we need to understand the nervous system and how the nervous system labels things as threats or safe. And once we understand that, we can understand, oh, wait a second, I'm responding in a physical way with cortisol, adrenaline, and all the kind of what we call the stress hormones, and I need to understand what's happening. All right, so the first thing is I get my players to understand what is going on in their body as they're playing poker. We then need to widen our range. Same as a poker player, if you're too nitty, you need to widen your range. We need to widen our range of stress tolerance. This means that you can handle more and more and more stressful situations. One thing I think players get wrong, and most people get wrong, is they think the solution to kind of stress is to have less of it, to lower it. The only way to lower stress in a poker context is to stop playing, to play less volume. All right, because poker is innately stressful. Why? Because there's constant threats, there's constantly things on the line in terms of money, your kind of identity is always wrapped into it as well, and it's pretty stressful. Anyone played poker and it's been stressful? Everyone, right? It's quite a high stress scenario. If you don't want stress, go meditate somewhere, go for nice walks. Like, poker is a performance arena, and it requires to deal with stress. All right, so rather than trying to avoid it, we widen the range so we can perform at our best whilst experiencing a large amount of stress. All right, and the goal is to be fully activated, fully engaged, and to be able to handle everything that poker throws your way. So the final stage of the stress mastery journey is to basically to have an optimal activation level in the body that allows you to perform. What does that mean? It means your body and your mind are experiencing a certain level of activation. All right, so it's basically a certain amount of cortisol, adrenaline, you're feeling a certain way, and you've optimized that state so that what you're doing, you're in the optimal state to perform what you're doing. All right, you guys will know intuitively when you perform at a high level, something feels different. The state of your body, the state of your mind just feels different. All right, so I teach players how to not only know about this activation zone, but to access it on demand. So every time you play, you activate that state on a regular basis. So I'm going to share with you how Alan was able to use this skill in practice. So Alan says, before joining the program, I was struggling to manage stress that comes with being a full-time poker player. At times, it felt like poker wasn't beatable and that all the effort I was putting in was for nothing. The Poker Athlete program gave me the tools I needed, and I now feel in control and that I can handle anything poker throws my way. I now have a roadmap for everything I need to do to get to an elite level, which is awesome. All right, he's back in control. He's back in control of his body, his mind, his ideas, his confidence, and he feels like he can handle it. Why? Because he's got the right tools that allow him to deal with the stresses and the challenges that poker throws his way. Pretty helpful skill, right? To be able to handle everything poker throws your way. All right, and the final skill is energy optimization. So we had high scores here with 34 to almost 35. Generally, players who come work with me, they resonate with my poker athlete concept, so they're a little bit higher on the energy optimization than the average player. I think most players would score a lot lower than my clients, and now they're at 38. All right, so we've seen a 10% improvement in their energy optimization. All right, so energy optimization is all about understanding that in order to perform at a high level, we need energy. So first of all, we need to understand how to fuel the body with energy, how to give the body energy. This is going to be your approach to nutrition, everything you do to put things into the body. We then need to train the energy systems. Realize that there's certain systems in the body, your lungs, your heart, your brain, that need to be provided with nutrients and with energy at the right times. So we need to train our energy systems. This approaches the exercise, movement, breathing, that allows us to basically train so we've got more energy. And then finally, we need to optimize your energy. All right, I teach poker players how to create the optimal poker athlete day. So you go from morning to night with high energy, and you pick the peak times in your days for doing certain activities. All right, so when you're grinding, you've got peak energy. When you're studying, you've got peak energy, and you're able to have this kind of high energy and then a bit of recovery and high energy recovery. Right? This kind of wave of intensity to recovery throughout your days. All right, so this is all about understanding that we need energy to achieve our goals, and we need to put some work in. All right, and this is a lifestyle thing that you need to do, and it's a whole system that I teach poker players how to optimize their energy. All right, so I'll share with you what Christoph had to say about going through this section and how he was able to improve his energy. Before joining the program, I was struggling to keep my energy levels high and my stress levels low enough to perform at my best. This led me to feel overwhelmed when I was on a downswing, and I'd often feel isolated grinding poker alone. Being a poker athlete has taught me how critical it is to gain a small edge wherever possible, from my thoughts to my sleep, nutrition, and optimize my energy levels. I've improved in so many areas of my life, and I now know so much about the human brain and body that I can use to improve my performance. I handle variance much better than before, and I'm enjoying my poker more than ever. I'm now able to get into my peak performance zone when I'm playing much easier, and I can stay there for longer. All right, so he's able to optimize his physiology on his mind and body to perform at a high level. And one of the things I teach poker players is we're often missing so many areas of small edge that lead to a huge improvement in our performance. All right, so one of the things he's found is like there's little things matter everywhere that if we optimize them, we can have amazing results. All right, so these are the 8 skills that poker athletes have been training. So if we look at the whole program, this is 30 players. This is not a select sample size. This is everyone who's gone through it. We see a 153% improvement in their skills. All right, so skills, they add to each other. It creates this kind of compounding effect. So when you add up all these skills, this is the average player has seen 153% improvement in all these skills, which directly improve their poker performance. All right, do you think that's going to have an impact on their results? Do you think it's going to have an improvement on their volume? Do you think they're going to be able to play higher stakes in the future? Hell yes. All right, and they actually already shared with me all their results that they are actually doing this. All right, so these are the skills that I teach to poker athletes. Pretty awesome stuff, right? Now, if you wanted to be one of my next poker athletes, then listen up. I'm going to be opening up my program for another 10 students. I'll be coaching them through these 8 skills over an immersive 8-week program starting in January. Applications are going to be available now, so if you click on the link in the description, go for the application. I will look at those to see if you're a good fit. Now, what we do as a community is we train 1 skill per week. There's live coaching, there's all the content to go through, there's assessments, there's worksheets. It's a full immersive coaching experience for all of the 8 skills. All right, so each week we level up the skill together as a group. If you apply yourself in the right way and you show up and do the work, you will see amazing improvements in all your skills in just 8 weeks. Like I've shared with you, the average player going through the program has seen 153% improvement in their skills. Not because it was some magic formula, because they did the work. All right, they did the work and leveled up their skills in the right environment with the support, the accountability, other like-minded players going through the same system. All right, guys, if this seems like it's appealing to you, click on the link, put in your application. I'll be reading through all of those, and then I'll reach out with the next steps. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button before you go so the YouTube algorithm likes you, and I'll be doing plenty more cover for me very soon.